And at one point, one of our daughters was kind of like, well, you could tell she's frustrated. And so instead of us just being like, no, just do what I say and you don't get to have a voice, we had conversation with her. And really what she was frustrated about is that she's been very diligent in listening to us.
Correct.
But then some of the other kids weren't. And then she's getting generally in trouble for it. And so then we were like, that's a really good point. You know what I mean? Like,
well, lesson learned for us.
That's right.
Like, again, feedback is wonderful from your kids, as long as out of respect and honor.
Yeah.
We are open to conversations with our kids. Hello, everyone. We are Greg and Jacquie Francis, and welcome to High Performance Parenting, where our passionate goal is to encourage you to raise champion children in a crazy world. Every week, we will bring you multiple episodes from our extensive experience of raising our six happy, healthy, successful, godly kids who are confidently equipped to win big in life.
We deeply believe that any parent who is provided with the right knowledge and continual support can raise amazing kids. And when they do, all of our futures get better. If raising up future generations of absolute champions matters to you as much as it does to us, here's how you can contribute. Like and share this podcast with everyone you know. And together, let's embrace this journey of raising champion kids in a crazy world. Okay, everybody, we're back. Part 2. We were just diving into this conversation of, if your child isn't honoring what some of the standards are that you are edifying, that you are constantly proposing, if they're not doing that, how do you handle it? And, you started talking, honey, about how we have these conversations and we face in. And the first question is, why do you think this is okay to do blank? We use example of you're not cleaning your room, right? Just as something. Why do you think it's okay to not do this? We make them answer it. We make them have to communicate it. We don't let them get off the hook. Number 2, we do what you said, which is we take the extra time to remind them that this isn't who they are. Mm-hmm. They're not a lazy person. Mm-hmm. They're not a disobedient person. They're not a person who dishonors mom and dad and what we're asking of them. They're not a person who doesn't steward things well. Mm-hmm. This isn't who you are. So it's our job as people who are stewarding you, because you're God's kids, not just ours. Then it's our job to make sure that we equip you and train you to act as though you're designed. Mm-hmm. And so, a lot of times what we'll teach them also is that, hey, things that you don't steward well, you will probably lose, right? So if you're not even stewarding your time well, I was too busy doing XYZ, which means they got distracted doing something they enjoyed doing. Well, okay, but now the time you are going to have tonight to do a game or something or to play with each other, that's going to go into time. You can't skip work time and go to play time. So now your playtime's probably going to get eaten up with your work time, and you're going to be cleaning your room tonight while everybody else is playing Monopoly or whatever, right? And so this is part of that process. You want to explain any more about it?
No, I think we don't make it any more complicated than that either. I don't want people to sit here and think like we drag this on for a whole day. It's usually, a 15, 20-minute conversation with them, 30 minutes max to go over this. They're used to the process at this point. We understand how it's going to go. We're not up for arguing with them. There's no lippiness. They don't question. It's just the way it's going to go. Mm-hmm. And the standard is there and it's set. And then we move on with our day. Yeah. We really believe we don't believe in making people feel bad all day, guilty all day, excluded all day. This is the ramification of the actions that you decide not to take. Now you're going to take them. So let's move on with our day and move on.
Yep. They go handle their thing. And then they usually come in at some point and they usually apologize because it kind of eats them up a little bit. And we just say, okay, well, you know what? We forgive you. Standards are restored, forgiven and forgotten. And we really don't bring it up again. We don't make them feel bad about it. And that's an important part, I think, because otherwise you almost can build into their identity that they're naturally lazy or they're naturally a screw up or something like that. And it's like, no, you just got off track for a minute. We helped you refocus on who you actually are. Now you've actually acted as though you are. And now we don't have to talk about it anymore. Right. Just keep going. And I'll tell you, the kids end up, the majority of the time, I'm not saying they don't ever not, but the majority of the time, they end up really honoring this.
They really do. And I know somebody's out there, so what if they don't go do it at night? What if they don't go do, again.
Because it happens.
It does. Again, we like to think our kids listen to us very well, and they do it on the first try.
Yeah.
But they don't always. And it does happen because we don't remind them at night. We had the conversation. We know our kids are intelligent. We expect you to take care of it after that. if you quote unquote forget again, we're going to have another discussion with you.
Just to clarify that we're talking about 10 years old and up.
Correct.
At this point.
Yeah.
Versus
kids.
someone out there who has a 4-year-old.
Correct.
You can't just let them make decisions throughout their day like that.
Right.
And expect it to work out well. It's like you have to be way more direct. You have to be way more specific. You can say, go do this right now kind of thing. So I just want to make sure. So some people, they don't have 10-year-olds, they have 5-year-olds, they're listening to this. So
yeah, our 5-year-old we're more strict with, and we are very much more controlling of her day versus our other kids.
Yeah, and why is that though? That's just because that she doesn't have the capacity yet
she doesn't understand
in order
yet
to manage her day. So it's our job to help manage it for her.
Yeah, she's too young to concept that. Yeah. So, but then our big kids, it happens again. We're gonna have that discussion again with them. But then it turns into another thing where it's like you're going to do it our way because this is how we're going to hold the standard in our family, and because of your actions, other things might not be able to happen now. Like many of our kids love sports. There's really no point in me driving you around all day for sports if you can't honor the standards at our home.
Right. Again, it goes back to that. We don't just skip work and play.
Right.
That's there's nothing responsible about that.
No.
And the way we define responsibility is responding to your ability. Right.
Correct.
And so, but if you don't respond to your ability, then
we'll help you again.
Yeah, we'll help you again, but that might mean that you have to give up something that is just the playtime because obviously you don't know how to manage it. You don't know how to manage both. And so we have to teach you that, if you can't choose between one or the, if you can't do both, so you only choose one or the other, we will make the choice for you that it won't be play. It will be the work part.
Right. And then typically in our situation, if and when that happens, they have to notify their coach and let them know. We don't think it's okay to just not show up at practice when your coach and teammates are expecting you to be there. So if you've gotten to the point where you just need us to control your time even more, you're going to have to contact your coach and let them know, I'm not going to be at practice, or I'm not going to be at the game, or I'm not going to be at the match because I'm, fulfilling my responsibility at home. They have to let the coach know that. They don't have to explain every little detail of it. We don't embarrass our kids. That's not what we do. We just want to make sure that, they have to tell the coach. So the coach, knows what's going on. I mean, nothing's worse than showing up and expecting your teammate or the, kids you're training to not be there. Come on. That's just disrespectful, And number 2, we just want our kids to take the responsibility again. Like, you didn't just let us down, meaning mom and dad. You're going to let down your coach and teammates now. And if that's where we got to go, that's where we're going to go, because we're not going to change our standards. Standards don't change just because your actions have.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's really good.
Yeah.
So what about other things? How about let's talk schoolwork for a second? We're talking about being a team and doing what's expected. So so talk to me about that, hon.
Yeah, I mean, typically, again, we homeschool at home and we love it. Gives us a lot of flexibility. But with the flexibility comes making sure that you are being responsible to get the job done again. And similar to what you said earlier, we can't play all day and not work. Mm-hmm. There's things that need to get done around here. And one of that is some of the subjects that we want our kids to dive into every single day. And so we have a set time when school starts. Mm-hmm. And we set that time. That means they have to get up at a certain time. And, everyone's kind of in charge of themselves. Again, we're talking about our older ones. Our younger one, we manage her. But our older ones, they get up at that time. They know that they need to have some of their chores done before school starts, and they need to be in their seats getting the job done at a certain time.
Yep. And for instance, one of the ways we've done this, let's say they start school at 9 a.m., okay? Then that, we have all our different personalities in the household. And some like to get up and kind of take their time making a bagel and, eating slow and kind of reading a book that they like while they're eating it. And next thing you know, they've been doing that for an hour. And so, here they are, if they are getting up at 8:15 and they have eaten a bite out of their bagel and it's 5 to 9, well, then, you and I, we don't feel like we should be dealing with the idea of, well, I haven't eaten breakfast yet, Mom. Like, am I supposed to just skip breakfast? Kind of thing. So we structure them that 9 o'clock is when you're going to start, right? School starts. So if you do have a bite out of your bagel, then you throw the bagel away and you go do it. If you don't want to eat breakfast, then don't eat breakfast. If you would rather sleep, whatever. And you know what they all did? They all started figuring things out. They all started figuring out, I probably need to get up at 7:30 because I like that time that's slow. Some of the kids are like, oh, great, I'll get up at 8:20. I don't really care about that time. I'll just want to sleep in as long as I can. And we just give them some freedom to make the choices, but the standard is at 9 o'clock. Now, if anything bleeds over in that, then again, it's kind of like, okay, well, tonight when there's any kind of play time, guess what? You're going to be finishing all your homework tonight while everybody else is playing, right?
Yes. And again, that's happened, I usually come in and I'm like, here's what's going on. It's time to start. And if they haven't cleaned everything up and taken care of everything like they're supposed to, you're going to go start your homework and then you're going to come back and take care of everything later in the evening. And if you miss out, on breakfast or whatever, I mean, we eat at lunchtime again because we're not going to snack all day and distract ourselves with multiple other things. But with schoolwork that comes too is that, many of them look out for each other. Hey, it's 8:45. You know what I mean? You might want to hurry up type thing. Or, hey, who left this mess here? Because mom's going to come in here, dad's going to come in here and wonder who did this. And I didn't do this, or, hey, whose turn was it to empty the dishwasher? Because it's not fair that mom and dad come in and see this sink full of dishes from us. Right. Or, so they kind of help each other in that aspect, which is really great, mainly because, again, when they start, quote unquote, getting in trouble for not fulfilling what is needed of them, they're taking responsibility if they're going to be one of the people that does or doesn't get in trouble that day.
Yeah. And I remember even recently, some of the conversations that happened. So we're teaching this into everybody, right? And then some kids, like for instance, okay, you got to keep your area cleaned up, like on your desk and stuff like that. You got to keep it looking neat and orderly. We believe in organization. We think everybody's more productive that way.
Correct.
So we try to build these habits in, right? But even in the kitchen, it's lunchtime. And so then everybody's out there and they're all working together to help make lunch and do their whole thing. Totally. But then you walk in afterwards and it's like there's still stuff kind of out and counters haven't been cleaned up and everything else. And so one thing we learned was, we'd walk in and be like, kids, we all got to take care of this stuff. And then we're kind of doing our normal standards talk, but we're doing it generally. Yes. And at one point, one of our daughters was kind of like, well, you could tell she's frustrated. And so instead of us just being like, no, just do what I say and you don't get to have a voice, we had conversation with her. And really what she was frustrated about is that she's taken care of all the parts that she needed to take care of. And she's been very diligent in listening to us. Correct. But then some of the other kids weren't. And then she's getting generally in trouble for it. And so then we were like, that's a really good point. You know what I mean? Like,
well, lesson learned for us.
That's right.
Like, again, feedback is wonderful from your kids, as long as
done right.
Out of respect and honor.
Yeah.
We are open to conversations with our kids. We want feedback. Hey, if you see something working better, one of her things was really smart. She was like, we're always in a hurry. Do you mind if for lunch we all pick where we're going to sit and then everyone knows where their seat is? And then if there's stuff left at certain places, we'll know whose it is. Mom and dad.
So smart.
And I was like, actually, that's a great idea. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? That way, then when something isn't picked up, I can be like, hey, actually, it was this one, not this one.
Yeah.
And not in general, are you getting in trouble? So we thought that was great feedback from her.
And it helps too, because, sometimes you have like someone who's the youngest, well, second youngest now, but like Ellie, and her whole life has had a lot to do, just like most younger kids, where everybody around her kind of helps because she's always, from the time that she's just a little one. And so sometimes she'll end up leaving her stuff out and other people would normally pick up after her, but we're trying to teach her to make sure she has this responsibility.
Oh,
and so when she has her own spot and she leaves her stuff out, we have to instruct the kids a little bit, like, don't help with that.
Well, and that especially goes for sometimes our son, because his personality is he gets distracted very quickly.
D-wagon, yeah.
And he's the boy here. And so sometimes people just would start doing it. True. And I have to be like, no, that's not fair. Get back in here. Your sisters aren't going to do this for you today. You need to take care of this. And he's like, well, I forgot. I'm like, well, I'd like it if you write yourself some notes so that you don't.
Yeah.
Because we've taught our kids how to actually, take responsibility in the way they need to. Some have great memories and they don't need memory reminders.
Some have a natural responsibility strength.
That's right.
So they enjoy responsibility. It really matters to them. Some don't have that strength.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's one that we typically have to be like, we need you to write a checklist for yourself so that you can get the stuff done and nobody else is taking responsibility for what you should be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a super honoring kid, but also at the same time, he does have a personality that can be a little aloof when there's a million things going on. So I know recently, one of the things he loves is watching, games together in the evening, and there's all playoffs going on right now. It's hockey. It just finished NBA. And so this matters to him. And, one of the things that I know that you and I talked about, because there for a while, we were kind of like, man, he's out there. He's already starting to engage in the game. I enjoy that time with him too. But at the same time, he forgot to do 2 or 3 things that you asked him to do. And so what did we end up doing?
Well, again, we did a checklist for him on what needed to be done
specifically, yeah,
before he gets to enjoy that kind of
But
time.
that's the key. Like, here's your checklist, Drews. Like, you need to go and check everything off before you get to do the playtime, right? And so I'll tell you, it made a big difference, didn't it, with him? Like, he kind of needed that.
Yeah, I think he needed the checklist, and also for you too, because you didn't know sometimes the frustration because you're not paying attention. So I had to start a checklist for you too,
about the kids,
before you could play with the kids.
I mean, we're talking about the kids here.
Right? Where do they learn it from?
High performance parenting. So you're right. Checklist helped me a little bit too. My checklist is, okay, did the kids get all their checklists done before I can play with them?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting better about it all the time. All right. On to the next one. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening and thanks for your love and support. We hope that today's episode added tremendous value to you and your family. It would mean so much to us if you would partner with us on our mission of helping parents around the globe raise champion children in this crazy world.
To do so, simply take a moment to like and share this podcast with everyone in your network. See you next time.